right now I'm going to break down beginning to end how off-grid works for me, everything you're going to need, which number one, you're going to need water, which you can be as simple as buying gallon jugs from the store, and that's what you have. That's what I started out with. I bought like 10 gallon jugs, and that's what I had. That's what I had for the weekend when I was out here. Me, now I've upgraded to these 1,200 gallon tanks. I have two of them, and I have water actually delivered, which is not very expensive. It's an easy process. I give them a call, they drop me off 2,000 gallons, lasts me for over a month. Shower, wash my dishes, everything I need more. Now there's IBC totes, which are a little bit smaller, that you do the same process with as well. And there's a range of sizes. Now, with all off-grid, it starts with an infrastructure. Now this infrastructure you put in takes some money. Now it could start out small, which you can build over time, basically save money. You could basically, some people do it, they sell their house and just put that into the infrastructure. And some people, what they do is they save a little money, come, on the weekends that are off-grid property and build that way. I would suggest people do all three if they can, but at least you're gonna have to pick one. How I did it is I broke the whole thing down, smaller gauges from the outlet, valve, and then down here to a garden hose. Now why I chose this garden hose up top here is this garden hose heats the water up to the exact same temperature outside. So really I don't need to heat the water up at all. This water can go straight from here to an outside shower. 9 months out of the year, I'm taking a comfortable shower. It's not for everybody. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but this is the way I chose. Also on the other side, what you're going to need is a pump. Now there's ones you can get from Harbor Freight or other places. I found the one works best for me. I bought one off of Amazon that has a pressure regulator. You basically open your valve, water goes out, you turn your valve off, it builds up pressure, it turns off. You're gonna need somewhere to live, right? I've seen people do it. There's a guy I knew, he had a backup pickup truck, and the back of the pickup truck he had a bed, and he parked it on his off-grid land, and that's how he lived for a long time like that. I mean, some cowboys, that's just how they work. Me personally, my wife and kids, I can't go that route. So here's what I did. I bought a trailer first for a good price. That gives you everything. It's plug and play. You plug in the power, you can fill it up with water, you can have your shower, you can have your propane to cook, plug and play, done. But here's the problem with a trailer. They're only meant for 2 weekends a month, two weekends a year, I mean. They're not built to last. The walls are thin, the sink is small, everything is built thin and cheap. That way it's able to be mobile, okay? So if you go that route, you're probably fixing something every couple of months, either by a professional or you're probably yourself. And going through plumbing, electrical stuff, or if this shorts out, it's a pain. That's why after that, I went to a tiny house, which is not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than a house. That is something that I built with actual wood inside on the walls. Everything in here is sturdy. Everything I put in, I can throw my coffee cup against the wall. You're not even gonna notice. And that is the difference. Me personally, what I would suggest people is get a little bit of money, get a little trailer. That way you can park there, your plug and play, save up, learn it, get time, then start on a tiny house project. That's what I did. It worked out great. This one seems to be pretty calm, this one here in the front. They just kind of stare at you. It's pretty amazing. Now, if you look, this one has a white face, and that's the mom, and that's the baby right there. Look at this. They really are pretty calm. It's pretty an amazing sight. My fence is right here, so they're just right over it. When you go off grid is a power source. I've seen a guy that had one Harbor Freight solar panel, one car battery, an old used one. That was enough for him to charge his cell phone, and he had one little TV that he turned on. Me personally, I kind of want a higher standard of life than that, and most people do. So this is how I did it. I started off with a generator. Now, this is enough to power your AC, enough to power a microwave. This is the 3500, so it's 3,500 watts. Now, the problem with a generator is they're loud. Then they take, running them 24/7, a lot of gas. This is about 2 gallons of gas every 12 hours, you know. And if you do the math on that, it adds up quick. Then, of course, it's an engine. You have to change the oil and it starts to wear out, put a new spark plug in it. And over time, you know, if you run it nonstop, this thing will last a year and die on you. And now you're out another 800 bucks. So this is how I did it with this whole project. I started out with a generator. Then after that, I got a solar generator. Let's go check that out. So what I got is what's called a solar generator. Now this is everything all in one. Me personally, I didn't want to have to put all these components together, like you're trying to get your inverter and your charge controller. What the problem is, you cross a wire or something is loose, there's a fire, and you have to put in a lot of safety switches in that thing. Me personally, I wasn't comfortable enough with my skills with electricity to do that. So what I did is I got a Jackery solar generator. This thing has like over 60 functions to make sure this thing does not you know, catch fire or have any problems. It gets too hot, it gets too cold, open circuit, this thing will just turn off. Now, literally it's plug and play. So you turn it off, you plug in your solar in the back, and you're done. There's no other components, but you pay for that convenience. It also comes with a 5-year warranty, which I've hit them up before and they are right on the ball. Like you text them, they'll text you back, or you email them, they'll email you back with a problem. Great customer service. Now, this right here is about 1,000 kilowatts here, which I have, you know, over 5,000 here, 5,000 there, 10,000 total. I had about 600. Now I have about 400 watts coming in, about 150 going out. Now, basically 150 watts is one of my kids is watching a DVD, some lights are on, and the fridge is going. That's about what that is, which is not a lot. But let's say you turn on your microwave, you're going to get up to basically that could be 1,500, so on and so forth. Right now, at 35, that'll run me probably all night, just my fridge going and just sitting there with my fan. Now, I have basically 4 solar panels across the top of this that are 400 watts. Now you basically just throw in solar panels, 1, 2, 3, 4, wherever you're gonna get, that's gonna get some light. You bolt them down, and I did it on top of my shipping container. That's what this is. And then I just ran almost like, these are almost like extension cords to it. You can get those online to my solar generator, and that gives me all the power I need. Now, you do need supplementary power sometimes. I find, you know, I have a lot of stuff going in the house, you know, the wife's making smoothies, the kids are vacuuming, and you suck a lot of juice. So, what else you have to figure out is where your septic is going. I built a septic tank here. So you have to either go to a station to get it dumped, or they have mobile ones where you dump it inside and you bring it off. You have to figure out where your waste is going and how to figure out that situation. Me, I had a septic tank installed, and come over here and check it out. Let me show you. So basically it comes directly out of here, goes through this pipe, into an attachment down there at the bottom, which goes straight into my septic. That's how they built it. There's 2 of those they left me, one for a house if I want to put it in there, and one for, you know, your RV or your trailer. Works out great. You know, you just flush your toilet or you just take a shower and it just goes through. Works perfect. That's what I do now. There's a lot of other ways homesteaders do deal with their bathroom, and look all that up and, you know, pick the one that works best for you. Another situation you're gonna have to figure out when you're homesteading off grid in the middle of nowhere like I'm doing currently, what are you gonna do with your trash, okay? I saw a guy, what he did is he was a little old man, he barely made any, he just burned a little bit in a potbelly stove. I don't really have that option, I'm a family of 6. So what I do is I get these thick husky trash bags, tie them off, double bag it, make sure it's nice. And then I take it all to the dump myself once a month. Only costs me about $8. I use really thick, nice trash bags, and it's a really simple process. You drive there, you pay them $8, you throw it all in their giant trash can, you go home. This is basically a quick rundown about buying land in the desert. Basically things to consider. Number one will be zoning. That's going to tell you if it's a flooding area. That's going to tell you what you can build. That's going to tell you, how much agriculture you can put on the land, whether it's commercial, whether it's residential. All of those things are going to be said in that zoning, and that's the number one thing you need to learn if you're going to buy land. Number two would be the elevation, especially in the desert, is going to be epic. So if you're all the way down in Phoenix, now you're still gonna have that 80-100 degree swing that we have here in the desert between the lows of the summer, lows of the winter and the highs of the summer. But instead, it's gonna be like 120 all the way down to 60. Or where I'm at currently here, it goes down to probably 30 degrees in the lows of the winter, and then it goes all the way up to just about 114 in the summer. Now that's all going to be depending upon your elevation. You can go all the way to Flagstaff and you just have those 80-degree summers, but then again you might get there. I think their record is -30 in the winter. It's all give or take depending on what you want. I would suggest right about 2,000 or 3,000 feet. It's kind of a sweet spot as far as the desert goes to elevation. Also, what you really want to consider is the roads. Okay, sometimes even just bare land, they have HOAs and they have a little clubhouse that everyone goes to and talks, and the roads are maintained through the HOA. Basically, you pay a couple $100 a year and it grades everyone's roads. Now, where I'm at, they basically go back to Mother Gaia. Nobody takes care of it except for myself. The county doesn't take care of it. There's not even a street sign to even know the cross streets of where I'm at. It's all me. And you pay for that accordingly. If you want property right off of the paved road and you want property way in the interior, there is a zero on the end. It may be the difference between $4,000 land and $40,000 land just on the location. Also, you have to see it for yourself. If you just buy land off of a picture, you're destined for failure. You have to literally drive that road, look at that land, know those washes, be able to say, okay, this is right for me. This is how I live off grid. This is my system. If anybody has any questions about it, let me know. If anybody would like me to go in a deeper detail, I'll make a complete video. Just let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.